Future-Proof is sponsored by Learn Smart Academy, online revision courses for GCSE and A-Level. All your revision in one place, organised for you, interactive and game-changing. Hello and welcome back from the break. Thank you for joining me, Sarah Hopwood, as I continue now just this programme looking at planning and building your business. And I'm now concluding it and starting with a force field. So you've got ideas, you've worked out what your sustainable competitive advantage is, and you've done all that through brainstorming and also a growth and profit and ease of doing tool as well. And now you've already got your strap line as well. And the way you find a strap line is answering the question, we will win by. And if you can answer that, then that means that you're speaking directly to your customer, particularly if you use a word you, your, something like that. So the customers are thinking, oh, you're concerned about me. And it really does resonate with them much more than if we just say and keep talking about I and me as a business. So a force field is where it basically identifies that for any new decision or even working on existing decision making, there's always forces, positive and negative forces. And here you've got examples of how a business, for example, can improve its service quality. And it's looking at all the positive things it's doing already or could do easily, and then the things that are stopping it. And all I want to say about this is do look at these examples of the actions. So the headings are, if you like, the issue, but underneath, on the left hand side, underneath we've got good things that are happening or could easily happen, and the action plans there then are the actions that can make those statements even more powerful. So it's a bit like feeding them with spinach. That's the idea there. Whereas if you look at on the right hand side, this is on the right hand side, this is then the negatives. So these are identifying the negatives, things that are holding you back from having high quality service. And then the action plans there are to counteract that negative. So how can we weaken it? So it's a bit like taking the air out of a balloon or something. How can we take the air out of this very strong, powerful force? So these actions are to weaken the impact of the negatives. And that's all I really want to say about that. There's obviously much more that can be done. And then the thing there too is then Pareto those actions. So you look at all those points that are on that screen. If I said to you now go off and do them all, you go, oh my gosh, there's too many. So 80-20 it. Get people to come out and vote and put ticks against their favourites and then just work on those. And that will bring about then, and there you are, there's examples there, that will bring about some very good action plans that will arguably impact on the whole business anyway. Visioning is very, very important. Vision where you are now and where you want to be. Some people don't want to draw it now, that's fair enough. The key box there is draw where you want to be. And so this is just an example. And you've got the dollar sign there too. Locus of control. I just want to talk briefly about this. There are previous programs where I've talked about this in depth. This is about whether people say I'm where I am today because of what has happened to me, because of everybody else, so that's a blame culture, or I'm where I am today because of the decisions that I've made. And that doesn't mean to say life has always been a bed of roses. Some people have had the hardest things come into their lives, but they've still made some smart decisions around that, which has weakened a negative impact where someone else would perhaps just feel that they've been, if you like, knocked over by something. And sometimes we just don't know how to respond. So there's no blame going on here. But it's basically, the question is, where is your locus of control? Where do you believe the centre control panel is? Is it in you? In other words, no one ever can dictate how you respond to something. That's a choice that we always have. Or do we actually say it wasn't my fault, it's because of? And when you're recruiting, just ask somebody to briefly talk about their lives just for a couple of minutes, and you can hear it in their language as to whether they have an internal or external locus of control. So SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. This is really powerful. This is called a strategic SWOT, because for those of you familiar with it, you're used to seeing just 4 boxes. And what you'll notice straight away with this one is that we've actually got then 4 boxes outside of the main grid, and this is where we record our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities and our threats. And the reason for this is because we want to draw up action plans straight away, and that's by answering these 4 questions. How can I use these strengths to commercialize these opportunities? Those answers fit in the top left box internally. How can I use these strengths to overcome the threats? That sits under that box on the left hand side. What do I do to make sure that these weaknesses don't spoil the opportunities? That's the box on the right hand side. And then what if the weaknesses combine with the threats, and what corrective action is needed? Now, I remember working with somebody on this, and they just put their head in their hands and said it was an absolute disaster. And I said, well, okay, disaster, but I'm not moving out this box. What are we going to do then? So everything's gone wrong. So it's, I've got no food. What am I going to do? It's that kind of thing. So, and so I made him sit there, and it's amazing the answers that came out from him. And on the back of that, he actually started a new business. He drew in his family members who he suddenly identified had skills that he knew about but thought were irrelevant to him. Through identifying those skills, calling them out and naming them, by the way, because he was talking to me, so he was also listening to himself, he suddenly had a light bulb moment and said, oh my gosh, I can see a new business coming. And, he wasn't even in crisis, but from that, he sold the business he had and he started the new business that he identified through the SWOT analysis. So very, very powerful indeed. And so we've then got the 1-page plan that can come out from all the information that has been gathered. And this is just an example that's going up here. And you can obviously see in this one, money features quite highly. Well, that's obviously very appropriate to any business. Money is what makes it go round. Cash flow is key. Cash is king. And too many businesses have gone under because they're asset rich, but they're cash poor. Be very, very careful about tying things up in assets. And that also goes for home as well as business. That first of all, the strategy column there, that's like your mission statement. If you think of Mission Impossible, what have you, what is the mission? Then you have the action plans, and then you have timings and who is going to do it by when. And accountability is absolutely key here, because we need to be able to say to somebody or a team, have you or haven't you done it? And if not, what were the problems? What could we learn from that? Sometimes the problems that come out from the fact that there were difficulties, or that it wasn't quite accomplished, or it was only half accomplished, can really give value to the whole business planning, and it can offset ongoing, perhaps future problems. So it's like a warning. You get a red alert. So the feedback is really, really important, and that can come from project teams as well, which I've talked about in a previous programme. And before I conclude this, I just want to say too, it's very important. All these TV programmes have appeared on YouTube. Go back and click around and look and see if you can find what it is that you're looking for. So in summary, now, where, how is the backbone of getting things right. If you are struggling to find your way forward, to come out with the right action plans, then arguably it's because you haven't spent long enough in the area of where it is that you want to be. Action plans, the how on this grid, should fall out the bottom, literally. And if you're struggling, then it possibly means you've not spent enough time in where you want to be. The Mind Shop six-step process. I was talking about that wiggly line and imagining it as a curtain. You as business owners are sitting on the long-term side. You're looking at where you want to be, and you're also planning and being very, very strategic and creative. And the reason why is because if you were the other side of the curtain, mingling with everybody else, getting your hands dirty in every aspect, then all your teams, 9 times out of 10, I'm not saying everybody's like it, well, they'll all be nodding and smiling in the right places, and you won't know exactly who your advocates are. And the key thing is you won't see who is quietly sabotaging you behind your back. If you, metaphorically speaking, get back on the other side and you're peering through, and maybe you've got somebody in the other side who will feed back to you what's going on, you can then watch who is quietly running around behind you, perhaps sabotaging, gossiping by the vending machine kind of stuff, perhaps undermining staff morale. And you can hold them accountable. By you not being there, then it stops them nodding and smiling in the right places and giving you what they think you want to see, rather than actually being their true selves. I commend it to you. Good luck building and planning your business.